Surender?
Sir, yes, sir.
We can start the program.
Good morning to one and all present here. With a new day comes new strength and new thought. Today is one such great day that gives tremendous strength and vibrant thought. Here we are for the inauguration function of Plot 2 6 days AICTE sponsored STTP on Assessment in Engineering Education, a pedagogical approach organized by Department of Mechanical Engineering. On behalf of VELAMMAL Institute of Technology Department of Mechanical Engineering, we extend our wholehearted welcome to have the presence of our Chairman Sir, Sri M.V. Muthuramalingam, along with our Director Sir, Sri M.V.M. Sasikumar, our advisors, Sri M. Vasu and Sri K. Razak. Our Head of Department, Dr. S. Kaliappan, faculties, HODs from other departments. It's my immense pleasure to invite all faculties, HODs, principals, and deans from various institutions in our country. Welcoming is a gesture which comes by nature in our Indian culture. May I now request our HOD Sir, Dr. S. Kaliappan, to welcome the gathering.
Good morning to one and all present here. It's my immense pleasure to welcome all the participants today for the 6 days SLAB 2 virtual AICTE sponsored STTP program. I welcome all the eminent speakers, professors from all over the country with the different designations, which includes faculties, HODs, deans, and principals. That you have been here to share your knowledge and vast experience within educational community. This is the first virtual new normal and AICTE sponsored STTP, which is completely conducted on a digital platform in line with social distancing norms due to COVID-19 pandemic from mechanical department. Our goal is to bring people from the professors community together to enable the minds of the faculty to think beyond the scope of syllabus that caters research mind for the development of individual aspect and global scenario in education. It will be the first of this kind of program designed to improve quality criteria of assessment in engineering education. We want to provoke discussion about design of various assessment that are constructively aligned with the course objective and activities. The program stresses more on how to apply the quality criteria with respect to the validity, reliability, and transparency for the construction of assessment and assessment items. Other outcomes like analyzing the assessment output and result, assess to the quality of assessment, and make discussion about students' grades accordingly. Your experience and knowledge will definitely help the participants in successful implementation of assessment in their curriculum. The program will be useful for all the educators involved in enhancing the quality of higher education. So once again, I will welcome all to this 6 days AICTE sponsored program.
Thank you, sir, for your warm welcome. Now, I would like to call Professor Madhu, Associate Professor, to talk about our college and department.
Thank you. A very good morning to all the dignitaries. Our institution, VELAMMAL Institute of Technology, is the brainchild of our Honorable Chairman, His Excellency Thiru M.V. Muthuramalingam, which started in the year 2008 and is nurtured by our beloved Director, Sri M.V.M. Sasikumar, with a vision to be a leader in quality technical education, research, and enterprising skills in pursuit of professional excellence. With the help of all our stakeholders, our college was accredited by National Board of Accreditation for all the programs and National Assessment and Accreditation Council, or NAC. Now, coming to our infrastructure, during the academic years 2018-19 and 19-20, additional labs and infrastructures were created at a cost of rupees 6 crores. I'm proud to say that a separate R&D center has been established in our institution to provide conducive environment to pursue research for both the students and staff members. Our institute, VELAMMAL Institute of Technology, Tiruvallur, is a prominent in its efforts to create a business incubator to foster entrepreneurship on the campus and in the community to enhance learning, internships, and job opportunities for all the students. Now, when it comes to academic results, we are very proud to say that with the hard work of all our students and staff members, our institution remains as one among the top list of 497 engineering colleges affiliated to Anna University, Chennai. Our college achieved second place for the academic performance in the entire state of Tamil Nadu during the year 2017-18. Our institution has been consistently maintaining one among the top 10 positions in the Anna University right from its inception. The results of our 8th batch of engineering students are again a benchmark in the history of VELAMMAL Ict. Our students have achieved an incredible overall results of 95%, with 7.8% of the students securing first class with distinction and 86.12% of the students securing first class, along with the 20 spectacular university ranks. Now, when it comes to placement, our record is as follows. Around 246 out of 281 students with a strike rate of 88% placed from among the 2016-20 batch in many core and software industries. Consistently, we have been providing placements in excess of 87% since 2012. Now, about our mechanical engineering department, it is one of the largest in the VELAMMAL Institute of Technology, which has been a key part of the institute since its formation. The vision of our department is to create technically qualified mechanical engineers to meet the demands of the industry and also to fulfill the society needs by research and entrepreneurship through innovative ideas. Currently, the department offers undergraduate programs with a total strength of around 279. The department consistently attracts some of the best students of the country as its undergraduates who may choose from mechanical engineering and mechatronics engineering courses. The department has vibrant research culture. Research and development cell is an integral part of academic activities of our institution. Being a favorite destination for undergraduate students, the mechanical engineering department at VELAMMAL Institute of Technology aspires to transform the lives of young budding engineers through their innovative ideas to contribute for research at academic level by presenting and publishing papers in the conference and journals as well. Now, it's my privilege to highlight some of the features of our Department of Mechanical Engineering. We have a very good teacher-student ratio of 1:15, and there is so much number of research labs exclusively for research and development activities, which we have set up two additional labs in addition to the AICTE requirements, and also with total number of journal publications from the year 2017 to 2020, it's more than 200. The total number of publications and conferences and symposium by the students is around 180. The average number of citations per paper, which is 2, average journal publications per year is almost 20, which means all our faculty members have been publishing quality articles in highly reputed journals. There were total number of patents, around 12 patents, many Australian, many international patents, which has been granted to our department faculty members. Average retention of young faculty for the year last 5 to 10 years is almost 60%. And the number of sponsored research and consultancy project is 30 lakhs for our department exclusively, and for our institution it's more than 3 crores. Now, ranking of the department in terms of total number of journal publications within our institute is always number 1. We just maintain that standard quite meticulously, and average citation number of citations per faculty per year for papers published from 2017 to 20 is 12. So I don't have time to read all the accolades which has been achieved by our students as well as our staff members of the department. I'd like to thank the opportunity given to me by the HOD as well as by the principal for highlighting the achievements of the institutions as well as our department. I once again wish all the participants a very good luck for this Sttp, and I sincerely believe that this will be a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your brief introduction about college and department. Now, I would like to call Professor MD Raj Kamal to elaborate about the objectives of STTP.
So, good morning to one and all present here. I welcome you all for the wonderful inaugural function. Let us see the overview of an assessment. So, assessment is considered as the most important role in steering the learning process. However, we cannot find the one particular methodology or the best assessment method for a course. An assessment plan helps in selecting the right testing method and decides on the relative weight of each assessment for the final result of a course. This also helps to ensure that assessment address the intern learning outcomes, which make an assessment plan a helpful tool for the examiner and an important instrument for quality assurance. The assessment matrix is designed to ensure that all the selected learning objectives are covered in the assessment, which helps to make the certain the assessment will be both valid and reliable. This is one this is done by using different methods to set the cutoff score by using rubrics. The participants will put forward to apply the certain quality criteria for the construction of an assessment and assessment items to improve the quality of assessment and education with a huge impact on the future education and career of the students. The participants will find the answer for the following question. First, on which aspects the student performed well and where did they fail? Second, if the student fails on certain questions, what does they say about the question or about teaching? Third, we may need to decide how to fix the certain errors on unaccepted situation and thinking about how to affect these students' grades. Fourth, what are the things to consider when performing an exam or item analysis? Fifth, what do you look for? And sixth, how do you draw the conclusions and make plan for the future improvements? During this assessment, particular participants will guide through the different phases of preparing, creating evaluation and assessment through instructional videos, interviews, animation, and checklists. In addition to this, there will be a course activities such as assessment and discount promotes. By participating in STP, you will find the answer for the following question. What is the role of the assessment and how do you select the right method of assessment for your course? And what is the constructive alignment? How can the assessment plan and matrix helps you in the construction of an assessment? Is possible to make a absolute reliable and valid assessment? How can the formulation of a good assessment questions have an impact on that? And what is the role of the feedback? How can the rubrics will help in providing feedback? What are the things to consider when performing an exam or item analysis? What aspects should you look out for? How do you draw the conclusion from an exam analysis and makes plan for the further future improvements? If the students fails on certain question, what does they say about the question or about the teaching? I hope surely this assessment help out for the improving the teaching learning process. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your briefing about STTP. I now call Professor M.S. Hevendani, sir, to deliver the guest of honor. Please, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I am extremely honored to welcome by introducing our speaker, Dr. Kapil Kadam, sir. Dr. Kapil is a researcher in the area of educational technology. He completed his PhD in educational technology from IIT Bombay, BE and MTech in computer science and engineering from Shivaji University. Currently, he works as an educational consultant. He has offered MOOC course, massive open online courses on IIT Bombay X about fundamentals of 3D visualization. He has also conducted several faculty development programs across India for the topics active learning, ICT in education, flipped classroom, online teaching, blended learning, educational technology research, and content delivery. His current research interests include educational technology, development of spatial skills, computer science engineering research, teaching training, engineering drawing, e-learning. In addition to the research, he is a Blender enthusiast and has conducted several blended training workshops for teachers and students in India. These workshops focus on the basis of 3D modeling, 3D animation, and 3D visualization using Blender. Once again, it's our pleasure to welcome our speaker. Welcome you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Kapil Kadam sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Surinder. First of all, I regret that my camera is not working, so I have put on the display picture so that you can see how I look like. So sorry for that. First of all, I would like to express my thanks to the host and the institute, VELAMMAL Institute of Technology, Chennai, for inviting me. And I'm also honored to be the guest of honor for this Sttp, which is mainly focused on the topic of assessment in engineering education. And I would like to mention that the objectives of the Sttp, as mentioned, and the perspectives and views expressed by all the dignitaries present in the session, including the HOD Professor Kaliappan, Professor Madhu, Professor Raj Kamal, Professor Sundarajan, and Professor Dani, and other dignitaries. Certainly, their thoughts are valuable towards making engineering education more effective. I would like to highlight a few important aspects in addition to whatever has been mentioned. Now that it's been like over 7 to 8 months for all of us that we have been transitioning from face-to-face teaching to online teaching. Certainly this transition must have not been smooth for all of us. Some of you must have been good into it, but most of us must have faced a lot of challenges as in including content development or content delivery, or maybe how to interact with students using the correct platform. Then the important aspect is how to make assessment online. So these are the broader challenges that we must have faced, and also we must, including me, all of were trying to have rather than using technology, how to make most use out of this technology, how to exploit this technology and its affordances to reach the goal of making the learning and teaching more effective, even in online situation. So not taking much time on these points, some of the major points that I would highlight in my session would be what, why, and how to do assessment, and few examples on how to do it online. And the major aspect I'll be looking for how to do this assessment techniques by making students, to make them more engaged, and how to make it more interactive rather than just doing one-sided assessment. So yeah, that's all for my address, and I would again like to express my thanks to everyone for being present for the session. Maybe we can start whenever the host allows me to. Thank you. Okay, so we will start with the session, right? Again, I welcome all of you for the session on what, why, how of the assessment and few examples of online. I'm Kapil Kadam, and yes, so yes, the agenda of today's webinar is to take an overview of assessment, like what is assessment, why to do assessment, how to do assessment, deciding certain assessment activities, and then assessing students online for different types of assessment. So I would be using few examples using tools like Mentimeter, Padlet, and couple of examples of Moodle. I understand that it's been really challenging for all of us to be interactive in the online mode, but I would like to have this session more interactive, where I would be asking you frequent questions, and you may have to respond with yes or no, or some single statement responses in a chat box or on some tool. So I would really appreciate if participants can actively participate into that. Okay, so to start with, here is the first activity that I have for you. So consider, for specific to your course, what are the different types of assessment activities that can be designed, or what is the purpose of assessment? Maybe you can take a minute to think on that. Okay. And you can respond on the chat box. So your time starts now. So basically just a brief idea about what are the different types of assessment you are aware of and how do you use it or for what purpose do you use it. Those you're using laptop, it would be easier for them to respond in a chat box. I could see some of you are already using mobile phones. Maybe it's tricky, but you can still try.
So Kalipan sir, just mute your audio, sir.
Yeah, others, please mute your audio. Thank you. Okay, so I could see a response saying to find whether the students has understood what we want to say. Okay. So it would be a good starter for all of us to just react and respond upon these activities so that we'll get to know different perspectives about what the teachers have to say about assessment. Anything else? Anybody else want to say something on this? It's an activity-based testing of what is being learning and correcting the mistakes made during the learning. Yeah, that's a very good point you are saying. Okay, so including these few responses, I would like to continue and I would like to add certain more purposes of assessment, like what are the different purposes of assessment. So for example, some of you must be very well aware of like to find out the prior knowledge of learner, where you want to test a prior knowledge of learner. Then you may want to check the interest of the students, to find out the interest of the students. Okay, I can see few responses are coming up, like to check the amount of learning. Great. Maybe I can wait a few more seconds and then I can continue. Okay, so like what you have been saying, to add to that, to understand to what extent learning has happened, right? Then maybe we do assessment in order to help analyze to what extent some teaching strategy was effective. So you must have been trying different teaching strategies in your lectures in all the modes. So you want to analyze the effectiveness of your teaching strategy. Then it will help a teacher to take a decision on whether teacher should move to next topic or repeat the same topic. Then you can do the assessment to figure out which students need help. Then you can always look for whether the learner or students are ready for higher level of concepts, right? Then definitely you can think of how to plan your next sessions, how you can improvise your course. For this purpose also assessment can be used. Mainly the important part is, have learning objectives been achieved? This is the major thing that we use assessment for. So here we test whether the learning objective has been satisfied or achieved by the correct assessment method. Then definitely we use assessment to compare students for ranking and having some rewards or incentives for them. Okay. And at the end, we use it for do some filters or screening or selection or make deciding whether students have passed or failed. And then we try to standardize the assessment, or we make some standardization so that we can have a good benchmark for assessment. So these are about students and learning and teachers teaching methodologies. We can also have assessment for accreditation purpose of organizations, or also to accredit teachers. So this is a broad list of different purposes and whys of why we want to do assessment. You can think of more such points and purposes of assessment. So this is just to give you a broader idea of what, why of the assessment. See here, I would like to start or categorize these purposes into different categories of assessment that we are very well aware of. I'll start with the diagnostic assessment. So as most of us are aware, the diagnostic assessment is used to understand students' level or level of students' knowledge. Okay, so that we can use it to inform course implementation. We can use it to tailor the courses. Then comes the formative assessment. So formative assessment is mainly used to give feedback to students for enhancing or correcting students' learning. This is also allows you to get feedback on teaching as well as teachers' performance. Also, the major important use is to do the reinforcement, certain behavioral modifications. Then we can use formative assessment for preparing for the future lectures or students' future or future planning of the course. Also, like I said, have learning objectives been met? So whether we have achieved the learning objective, that is the one of the major reason of formative assessment. Now, contrary to diagnostic and formative assessment, summative assessment is used to understand level of students' knowledge in order to categorize them or rank them. This is normally used in selection for job, next level scholarships, standardization. Okay, student assessment for standardization of organizations. These are the few examples. So here I'm just giving you broad idea of that there are three assessment types, that is diagnostic, formative, and summative. So let us look into more detail about what do people use this assessment for. Okay, so now I'll go with a reverse order. So I'll start with the summative assessment. Summative assessment this is the assessment of learning. So this is very important point to think upon. So summative assessment provides an opportunity to students so that they can demonstrate their achievement. So what achievement? Their achievement of knowledge and skills, right? So whatever they have been learning. So the purpose is here, it will describe what students can do, what students can value. You can evaluate students with respect to certain set standards, right? You can also evaluate students with respect to each other, that is a relative grading we can think of. So what are some examples of summative assessment? Some examples, very standard and common examples are end semester example, that is mostly we are concerned about. Then students are concerned about job interviews. Then those who are doing doctorate, they can understand PhD Viva examination, or the final defense is a summative assessment, so that you can conclude the student achievement, right? Now moving from summative assessment to formative assessment, like summative assessment was the assessment of learning, the formative assessment is assessment for learning. Okay, so how it is for learning? Because formative assessment provides multiple opportunities, not a single opportunity. In a summative assessment, you have one opportunity where you don't get a next chance to improvise your learning. But here you have multiple opportunities for students to practice their skills and apply their knowledge. For what? For the purpose of improvement of learning. So this is a continuous assessment where you can continuously analyze student progress towards the goal of improving teaching, right? So what are the major features of formative assessment? It is always ongoing. Then it can occur every day or for every unit or every term, depending on your learning objective or the purpose of the subject. It will allow you to determine where student is, what is the level of student. Also, it will allow you to get a feedback to change your instruction method or course method or instruction style, right? It will always point you towards the next step of your lesson plan or students' learning levels. Okay. So the emphasis is not much given on grades, rather than the emphasis is given on providing multiple opportunity for improvement of learning. That is assessment for learning. That is how the formative assessment is used for. What are the certain examples of formative assessment? You must have used a lot of formative assessment method uh, consciously or subconsciously. You must have designed different ways to do the formative assessment. I'll talk about few examples. There are examples like discussions. We promote discussions among students, between teacher and students. Then there are active learning. These are the active learning strategies. For example, think, pair, share, or peer instruction, or predict, observe, explain strategy. And if you think of a project evaluation, midterm project evaluation could be a formative assessment. So in this session, I would try to use one of the active learning strategy, uh, predict, observe, explain. We will learn about it in the upcoming part of the session. So moving towards what do people use assessment for, and what diagnostic assessment is used for. As in a contrary to formative and summative assessment, diagnostic assessment occurs before learning. The important point is this occurs before learning. So this before could be at any point of time in the learning. It could be first lecture, it could be the mid semester, it could be first unit test, or it could be the mid viva of midterm project evaluation. It could appear at any time, but mostly this occurs before learning. So this will help teacher to diagnose what student does not know, right? It will also allow teacher to determine what knowledge and skills students bring. Then you can figure out the range of individual differences among the learners. Then it will allow you to plan your instruction or how to tailor your instructions. So we will have, I'll give few examples on how I have been using diagnostic assessment in some of my recent workshops and lectures. Right? So what are the few examples of diagnostic assessment? You can think of placement test, foreign language test, where you can decide if students should do the basic, intermediate, or advanced level of language, right? So here I give you a few more example about diagnostic assessment. So in psychology, instructor surveys about students' assumptions. These assumptions about the concept that will be taught in the course. For example, nature of mind or behavior. So you can see that when we talk about nature of mind or behavior, every student may be having different assumptions about it. And to understand what are their assumptions, teacher can start these kind of diagnosis. Then in introductory physics, instructor can use set of conceptual questions so that he can or she can assess students' understanding of fundamental concepts of the physics at the start of the course. And another example of diagnostic assessment would be, while working with the group, instructor can survey students' prior experiences with group work and also their attitude towards working in the groups. So this will allow teacher to do the diagnosis of how and what level students can work in a group, whether they are comfortable or not, and different aspects of working in the groups. So these are the few examples of diagnostic assessment. So before moving certain more on assessment, here I'll give you a scenario. So you can take 2 to 5 minutes to read upon the scenario, and then I'll be having a couple of activities based on that. So here you go. I hope this is visible. Once you're done with the reading the scenario, you can simply respond in the chat box by saying done. So you're done reading the scenario? Shall I proceed? Okay, so assuming that all of you must have gone through the scenario, here is a quick question for you. So are there any ICT tools used in this given scenario? If you have figured out certain ICT tools, you can just post your responses in the chat box by which are the ICT tools that you figured out and their purposes. Maybe you can focus on which are the tools that have been used for assessment purpose. Google Form, YouTube, okay, videos, forms, blogs, correct. Google Classroom, great. So to add upon polls and quizzes, correct. Polls and quizzes have been used, right? WhatsApp Messenger, yeah. Quizzes, yes, again, I could see that. WhatsApp, Yeah, to continue with your responses, here what I tried to do is I just tried to highlight these ICT tools that have been mentioned in this scenario. So you can see like a video as was shown using YouTube, the quiz was conducted online using Google Form, then WhatsApp Messenger was used for sharing pictures, then the teacher has blog, to post her teaching experiences and the teaching reflections. Also, there are some classroom management apps were used for attendance, polls, and quizzes. Also, to manage the classroom, the quiz tool was used. Also, for the tracking learning of the students. So these are the certain examples, few examples of the tools that have been used, and these technologies that we just saw, and these are nothing but, or the technologies used in these processes are known as information and communication technology, that is ICT, right? So you could figure out few of them were used for assessment. Just to give you overview of the ICT, so there are different tools and technologies that can be used as well as resources for different purposes. So here is we have information, and these are the tools and the technologies which are ICT tools. And the purpose of these tools in order to deal with information is quiz. You can create quizzes based on the information. Then videos can be used for disseminating the information. Then CRM apps or the content resource management app can be used for storing the information. Definitely this information is related to education I'm talking about. Then blogs can also be used for managing the information. So this is just one overview you can think of. Another way is to look at ICT as all of us must have been using ICT for last few months very extensively. Okay, so ICT has a potential to be used in various practices of education. So one of the major practices is teaching and learning, right? So to teach and learn, the ICT is integrated for content creation, then content delivery, and then as well as content collaboration. And the other major purpose is to do the learner engagement, how you can ensure the learner engagement using ICT tools. And the administration purpose is also known. And importantly, the ICTs have also been used for assessment, right? So here is one such sample examples of available ICTs. You can explore on that. So these are the different levels of blooms where you can see recall to create, and at different level you can have different assessment or ICT tools, right? So quickly giving an example of how to use ICT in a class. So for example, visualizations such as animations and simulations have been shown to provide many learning benefits, right? This is a very known thing. And especially in a STEM disciplines, especially in the science, technology, engineering, mathematics disciplines. So if you could see, there are two screenshots. One shows the simulation where you can have different interactive graphics as well as representation that can be used as an effective visualization. The second one is an interactive visualization where you can see the mathematical expressions or formulas, and there are different representation of the same mathematical expressions. You can see the waveform of the same. So where learner can interact with this visualization and can result in a better learning. So how do most of us use visualization in the classroom, right? So maybe I give you this as an optional activity where you may or may not want to respond. But if you respond, I want you to think about, in what are the ways you use visualization in your class? What are the purpose of using visualization in your class? When should one use the visualization in class? Okay. And maybe if you can explain some of the components or elements of the visualization, you can quickly respond in a chat box. You can quickly respond in a chat box. Okay, so not taking much time on this visualization part. So basically, I have few points to say about how or when do we use visualization. So most of the time, how do most instructors use visualization in class? So most of the instructors, I could see some responses appearing, for more understanding. Okay, so this is one of the purpose that Professor Nathan is using visualization for. So most of the teacher use visualization, like they will play, show or demonstrate visualization, maybe in the form of PPT or using projector, right? And teacher can then give narrative explanation of the visualization, right? So first they show or demonstrate the visualization, and then you give an explanation, narrative explanation of the visualization. So what students do during this part? So students normally watch and ask the clarification if required, right? That's the most common job that students do. So do you think demo and explanation of visualization is effective? You can quickly respond by saying yes or no in a chat box. So do you think that demonstration and explanation of visualization is effective? Yeah, come on. Simply you just have to say yes or no. Okay, so by the time people responding, I could see that yes, I also agree at a point where I think the demonstration and explanation of visualization is effective rather than just showing demonstration. So it's not just you and me. Correct. I could see more responses now. Yeah, definitely. I can see. So to support our experience and perspectives, the research also, or the results from the research also has to say something about this. The research also has shown that showing demonstration alone is not effective, right? Just if you are showing the demonstration, it is not effective. And the potential benefit of visualization will be lost if students merely watch the visualization, right? And also, the way the teacher teaches with visualization has a very profound effect on the learning effectiveness. Okay, so definitely using just demonstration is not effective, but using demonstration followed by explanation of visualization is more effective. Okay, but what is the problem with this? The problem with this approach is ICT is everywhere, and everywhere is encouraging the use of ICTs, like use LMS, different LMS, MOOCs, visualizations such as simulations, animations, video, wikis, everything, right? But the potential of these technologies will be lost without appropriate pedagogical strategies, right? And also it is challenging for teachers to, design and implement the learner-centric practices with the use of ICTs. Okay. Now the solution, what is the solution? The solution is definitely the teacher needs to know or teacher needs to have a knowledge of certain things, including he should be knowing the different ICT tools, and importantly, which of these ICT tools are useful. Then how to select or how to choose the tool for given or selected learning objective, right? So everything comes back to the learning objective. And then how to effectively integrate certain instructional strategies with these tools, correct? And since we're talking about assessment, how to effectively integrate ICT tools for assessment. So this assessment could be of formative, diagnostic, or summative assessment. So jumping towards examples of certain ICT tools, I'd like to talk about a tool called Mentimeter. So before I give details about Mentimeter, I would like to know how many of you have used Mentimeter to present before. So this time I want you to participate in the activity by what you have to do is you have to go to menti.com, open a new tab in your browser, go to menti.com and enter this code 9484. I will just paste this part in a chat box so that you can simply access, right? So you can go to menti.com, you can enter the code 9484. So once you enter the code here, you will be able to see this window that appears and you could see different choices. So you have to select from these. So for example, if I go to menti.com and I enter the code 9484, let me check if it is working. Yes, it is working. So you will be able to see these options and you can simply click on whichever is applicable and then submit. It will take hardly 10 to 15 seconds of your time. Okay. So here, all of you can see that we are receiving different responses where few of you have used it, few of you have not used it. So that's a very interesting combination that we are having, right? So I would expect like at least 50% participation from the participants so that accordingly I can switch on to the next context, because if only 4 people are responding or 5 people are responding, but then I won't be able to know what should I be planning for my next instructions, because the people who have used Mentimeter will have different opinion about it as compared to the ones who have not used it, right? So the possibilities that they may learn the same thing or they may learn new things about how to use Mentimeter in the classroom or for what purpose they have been using it. So one very live example that we are able to see is that, like I said, I want to know how many of you have used a Mentimeter, right? So I'm trying to do the diagnosis of the usage of the Mentimeter. So this is how you can use Mentimeter for as a diagnostic assessment tool. Okay. Yeah, now I can see that more responses are coming up. So those who are able to see my shared screen, here you can see that 11 people have responded, right? You could see the number on the head of this each option. If I click on that option, you could see the percentage of responses. Yeah. So I could see that there is a more percentage of people who have not used a Mentimeter. But some of you have been in the audience before, right? I'll wait for a few more seconds and then I can continue. So meanwhile, you can think of what these use of images is affecting to your understanding, because it is giving the very engagement aspect of, you know, the activity. But we don't know who are answering yes, who are answering no, right? Yeah, for this particular activity, definitely we don't know who is responding. So the whole purpose is for this activity is not to know who knows and who doesn't know. It is just overall how many of you are actually aware of it or not. But definitely students can log in with their IDs and you will be able to see their names. So that depends on what kind of purpose you are having. So there is one example where I'll show you that will be coming in the upcoming slides. Okay, so yes, these are the challenges, but at this particular moment, I'm not interested whether people are anonymous or they have to, show their name. It is just to diagnose because I'm talking about Mentimeter and my participants are teachers. I would like to know how many of these are actually aware of Mentimeter or have used or not, right? So this particular information is sufficient for me to carry forward the discussion. Because suppose everybody would have said, yes, we use Mentimeter, then I would have, I may have a different approach towards talking about the Mentimeter. The next question would be, at what level you might have used a Mentimeter? Is it just MCQs or different interactions? So now many people are saying that they have not used Mentimeter or they have been into the audience. So then these people will have different way to look at the Mentimeter, right? So this is the whole purpose of this particular activity rather than just getting the name of the people. Okay, yeah, I'll come to that. Yeah, thank you for the question. So for those who know and for those who don't know, so what is Mentimeter? So Mentimeter is easy to use interactive presentation tool, right? A tool that can be used to increase student learning as well as student engagement in the classroom. It could be a physical classroom or it could be online classroom, provided that students are having the devices. So this is the best time to utilize these kind of tools. Though there are different LMSs are having their own features like polling and voting, you can still use Mentimeter for different purposes. Okay, so this is a tool that can be used to test knowledge, share ideas, and share feedback. Okay, most of the time it could be inclusive and fun oriented. And the important part that I use Mentimeter is for to trigger thinking rather than just knowing who has responded or not, but just to trigger thinking. Okay, and it is free to use, and the free features, you can do a lot of things with the free features, right? I won't be talking much about Mentimeter. You need to explore on your own, but I'll give you a couple of examples. You'll have to participate in the activity so that you'll get more example of it. Okay, so how to use it? Simply ask a question, take the audience vote, and present results in the real time. Like I asked you questions, then I presented the results in real time. Okay. So this is one type of a question. Okay. So if you're a teacher or a presenter, you need to go to mentimeter.com where you can create your presentations and slides and questions. If your students are in the audience, you can also log in and you can simply just, put up the code and respond your answers. Okay, so this is entirely dependent on the teacher how they want to use it. Okay, the more can be explored on your own. So here I'll go with one such example. Okay, so use of Mentimeter for an activity. So my learning objective is that students should be able to predict the outcome of a phenomena. Okay, so I'm assuming that everybody is looking at the slide. Okay, so here you can see a picture, one instance of some visualization where you can see a bowling ball as well as a feather. So the condition one is, so I'll be dropping a bowling ball and a feather together in a chamber from a significant height. Okay. And first, the chamber is having the normal condition in a chamber. Okay. So what you have to predict is which will fall fastest. Okay. So I want you to think and post your responses in the chat box. So which will fall fastest? A, bowling ball, B, feather, C, both, D, nothing will happen. Okay. Okay, so I could see that A, both, bowling ball, bowling ball. Okay. Now I could see that you're more active in responding when you have, simply multiple choice questions. Okay, great. So, okay, so I want you to keep thinking about your reason. So, in a given condition, why do you think that bowling ball will fall fastest? You may not need to respond in the chat box, but you can just keep thinking about the reason. We'll wait for a few more seconds for others to respond. Okay, so most of you have responded by saying that bowling ball will fall fastest. Okay, so I don't know which one will fall fastest in this condition. At the moment, I don't know the answer. Okay, now I will change the condition. So now what I want you to think upon is which of these will fall fastest after virtually all the air has been sucked out of the chamber. Okay, so which will fall fastest? So don't respond in the chat box, just think for a while. Okay, and here are the same options that you are having. So the condition is I'll be dropping these two objects, a feather and a bowling ball, in a chamber where the virtually all the air has been sucked out of the chamber, and it is at a very significant height. You can think of a much height. Okay, so which will fall fastest? A, bowling ball, B, feather, C, both, D, nothing will happen. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to menti.com and enter this code, okay, to participate in responding this option. So I'll paste it in the chat box. So those who are responding, please respond your options in the Mentimeter, menti.com. Okay. So go to menti.com, enter the code 7064295. I'll also try to go to the menti.com. So I'll enter the code 7064295. I'll submit. So here you'll be seeing the options: A, bowling ball, B, feather, C, both, D, nothing will happen. So this time I want maximum responses. Okay. So here, those who are done with responding can actually look at how others have responded, right? This time I want maximum participation. %63% are saying both will fall at the same speed. 25% are saying bowling ball will fall fastest. 13% are saying that nothing will happen. Nobody is saying that feather will fall fastest. So those who have responded here, can you think of and can you try to respond with your logic or your reason? You can just put it in a chat box by saying, why do you think that bowling ball will fall fastest? Why do you think that both will fall fastest? Just maybe in a single statement or a small phrase, you can just respond in a chat box. Gravity, acceleration due to gravity, same on both. Okay. Weight of the ball, no friction to resist. So as a teacher, all of you can actually observe what is happening during this activity, right? There are 4 options. Even though there are few responses, still it has a diverse set of responses. And some of you are actually trying to give the reasoning of it, correct? So what is happening? Doesn't matter if the other 50 people or 40 people are participating or not, but if their screen is on, they can see a lot of things are happening. They can see that there is an activity, there is some objects have been shown, there is something scientific is going to come next. There are people who are having multiple perspectives or responses. There are different reasons that have been given that people are trying to, you know, respond in the chat box. So all this staging, all this orchestration is allowing whoever is watching this session can think of how different elements can be used. Okay. So now the student or the participant who is saying option A or C, they may be thinking why others are thinking this way, whether I'm correct or wrong, or maybe they will have a thinking like, no, I'm correct, they are wrong. And then they can check, they can cross verify their understanding by looking at the responses given by other participants. So these are the different ways you can try to engage students and make them, you know, think more. So just pointing towards the previous question where some of you have asked, uh, we cannot see the name of the participants. But at this moment, I'm not at all interested in bothering students about their name. Okay, I just want it to be open-ended at the moment. So when I may have to do the final assessment, definitely I'll need to have students' name so that I can grade them. Okay, so this is not a summative assessment. This is more of a diagnostic as well as formative assessment. So the diagnostic, because I'm trying to learn what is the prior knowledge of the students, how much information they are aware of. Here you can see that it is very distributed, right? So accordingly you can plan your instructions. Okay, so moving to, so still I'm not giving the correct answer. Rather than what I'll do is, instead of me giving you explanation, I'll try to use a visualization in the form of video, and I can play the video which may have certain explanation and answers to your questions. So those who have responded in both the conditions, so there were 2 conditions. Those who have responded that bowling ball will fall fastest, those who have said both will fall fastest, those who have said nothing will happen, they can try to verify their assumptions, their knowledge, their concepts, their understanding, everything that can be verified. See here, I'll play a video. Maybe a few minutes, you can try to focus on the video.
This is NASA's Space Power Facility in Cleveland, Ohio, and it is the world's biggest vacuum chamber. It's used to test spacecraft in the conditions of outer space, and it does that by pumping out the 30 tons of air. Galileo's experiment was simple. He took a heavy object and a light one and dropped them at the same time to see which fell fastest. Now, in this case, the feathers fell to the ground at a slower rate than the bowling ball because of air resistance. So, in order to see the true nature of gravity, we have to remove the air.
Okay, we dropped 2 millitorr in the last 30 minutes.
But once it's complete, there's a near perfect vacuum inside.
6104 manual, 10% open. Station 1, go for drop. PCV 30-1, pressure set point at 240 psi. We are go for drop.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Cameras on. 2, 1. Release.
Look at that.
They came down exactly the same. Wow.
Look.
Look at how they hit right there.
Exactly.
You're back on the side.
Exactly the same.
Feathers don't move, nothing. Look at
Look
that.
at that. That's just brilliant. Isaac Newton would say.
So here you could have observed that the entire video is giving explanation about both the conditions. So the explanation has also allowed us to verify our understandings and the reasoning that we had, right? I could have done, or any teacher can think of directly showing this video and telling the students, so this is so I lost my connection for a moment. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So that is the whole idea of, how and when to use visualization, right? And I could have shown the visualization at the very beginning, or I could simply transmitted the information by saying that if this is the condition 1, this is the condition 2, this is what happens when you, when the feather and the ball you can drop from the height, and when you can drop it in the vacuum, right? So rather than simply giving them the information and the answers, the whole process was to make student think about the process, and they should compare their understanding with others. So in live settings, you can initiate group discussions or some more active learning strategies you can utilize, or even in online mode, the way you have seen, I have been asking questions. Doesn't matter how many of you are responding, but I'm utilizing this information in connecting the concepts. So that is the whole idea about it. So I'm just playing the rest of the part of the video.
The ball and the feather fall because there's a force pulling them down. Gravity. But Einstein imagined the scene very differently. The happiest thought of his life was this.
The reason the bowling ball and the feather fall together is because they're not falling. They're standing still. There is no force acting on them at all.
He reasoned that if you couldn't see the background, there'd be no way of knowing that the ball and the feathers were being accelerated towards the earth. So he concluded they weren't.
Correct. So that is the one example that I have used. Now you can just to summarize the whole activity, what I would like to. So those who want to check more understanding about the concept, this is Galileo's most famous gravity experiment. You can Google it on any time, and you can check upon the understanding, right? So you know the answers. So what you just now did or witnessed is a strategy called predict, observe, explain strategy. And that is one of the active learning strategies that can be used. So what we did is we had a learning objective where students were supposed to predict something. Then you used a question, then you give them some context, then they were expected to do the analysis of it, then they were supposed to respond. For doing that, we used Google Slide. Currently, we are using Zoom as a platform. Then Mentimeter was used to take their votes and to see the live responses of the participants. And based on that, as a teacher, I can, plan my next part of instruction. Then once this was done, I showed a rest of the video. Here it was a self-explanatory video. Otherwise, as an instructor, I can also generate the explanation. As a student participant for this moment, you try to respond your answers in a chat box on a Mentimeter, as well as you try to give some explanation about your understanding of it. So the whole process allowed, to make this particular teaching learning process more engaging, as well as whether students were attentive or not, still it will allow each of one who were watching it that it can ensure that students were watching it, and it is definitely giving some strong information for them towards learning rather than simply information transmission, right? This is what how we can use a POE strategy. And also one of the part was how you can diagnose their understanding. Okay, so in order to execute the POE strategy, that is predict, observe, explain strategy, first you need to set up the context like the one I did. I used a image, or you can play a visualization or the video up to the point the stimulus is shown, like this one, and then you can pause or don't show the rest of the part. Student will simply think and observe about this part of visualization. And then in the predict phase, you can teacher can ask a question about what will happen next, or what will happen in this condition, what will happen in that condition, what will happen if you do this or you do that. And students will definitely do some prediction. They can depending on the classroom setting, they can write, they can vote, they can discuss with each other. A lot of engagement techniques you can use. So definitely they'll be predicting in this context as what will happen to the ball and the feather. Okay, so once you have a predict phase, then there comes an observe phase where teacher can show the rest of the visualization, and student can check their predictions by watching the results in the visualization. In here it was a video. Okay, you can also use simulations where you can show the rest of the part of the video. Now after they observe this phase, the explain phase, either teacher can facilitate the explanation with class discussion, and they can give the reason for why behind this observations. You can play the visualization as much as time you want, depending on the time and the need of the students and the need of the concepts. A student can also cross verify or check their learning with this part of visualization. Here you can replay or show the visualization. So this whole process is really important rather than simply just showing the visualization. Okay, so this is how you can use the POE strategy for making learning more effective and engaging, as well as using as a diagnostic assessment also. Okay, so you can think upon different usage of this kind of activity. So there are other activities called as think, pair, share, peer instruction. A lot of can be implemented based on the classroom settings. So let us see another example, similar examples. This is just for the reinforcement purpose. So you may or may not need to participate in this activity. But here I have a same objective where students should be able to, my learning objective is that students should be able to predict the outcome of phenomena. Okay, here the setting is different. Here you have a helium filled balloon attached to a string, okay, or thread. It is tied in a plastic box. It is a cart. It has a wheels. Okay, so my question is, what will happen to this balloon when teacher will push this cart? So I want students to think about what will happen to this balloon when the man in the picture will push this cart. So you can think of also asking, explain why do you make such predictions? The options are like, when the man pushes the cart, the balloon won't move, the balloon will move forward, balloon will move backward, or I don't know. These are the possible answers that you can think of asking to the students. Okay. So normally I insist participants to participate through Mentimeter. So if you want to participate through Mentimeter, just say yes, or you can simply go to Mentimeter, or you can respond in the chat box with the answer. It is okay if you can just simply respond here in the chat box. So what will happen to this helium balloon when the man pushes the cart? Whether the balloon will won't move, or move forward, or move backward? Just a quick response. So okay. So in that case, people can go to menti.com and use the code 2752665. You can just do it quickly to see what people have to say about it. This is not a long, lengthy activity. It's a very short activity. Okay, I could see that 2 responses are saying C. So yeah, here I could see that few responses are coming up. Okay, people can participate in the Mentimeter. So I'm giving option those who whichever mode you want to use it. So this time I'm not restricting you to just use Mentimeter. Here I could see most of you are saying C, that is the balloon will move backward. Here also the few responses are saying that balloon will move backward. So interestingly, no one is thinking of any other options, right? So I'll wait for 20 to 30 more seconds. Okay, so yeah, I'll just stop with this option that I could see that most of you are saying C. Now, instead of me taking much time onto that, let us see. So because you have responded C, I am like excited to show you the the real answer. So I would again use a video. It is very short video, maybe 5 to 10 seconds video. Maybe you can before that you can think about your reasoning of why you chose the option C. Those okay, I could see somebody saying balloon won't move. Okay, maybe I need to wait for few more seconds.
It's 11:30.
No problem, I can wait for a minute. So now there is 50-50 responses. It's very interesting to see that half of the people are saying that balloon won't move. Half of the people are saying that balloon will move backward. I can see some responses that saying balloon will move forward. Now the activity is becoming more interesting, because all of you can think of whether the other person is correct or I am the correct. So again, like I said before, I'm not keen on who responded with this part, because I'm not using this as a summative assessment or a formal formative assessment where I need to capture your names and grades. I'm not grading it. This is more of making or improving the learning. Okay, so let us watch a visualization or a video where we can see actually what happens to the balloon. I'll just reduce the speed. Okay. What I can see, the balloon moved forward. Maybe we can replay the visualization. Okay. So here you could see that. I'll just reduce the speed to 0.25. So I can make it more slower. You can easily watch. When the man pushed the cart, the balloon moved to the forward at the beginning, and then it is moving back and forth, right? So those who said balloon won't move were wrong. Those who said balloon will move forward were right. Those who said balloon will move backward were wrong. Now I'm not gonna have more discussion on the reasoning and why this has happened. You can check upon your understanding. You know, you can always, this is one of the famous experiment upon helium balloon experiment. So you can check your conceptual understanding by just searching it on Google after the session, and you can try to verify your understanding. So this is how, again, you can use the POE strategy to, you know, make the concept learning more engaging, interactive, and you can utilize Mentimeter, multiple choice questions, you can use visualization, you can use POE strategy, right? Instead of telling the right answer right away at the beginning. Okay, so this is for the reinforcement. Again, here the context, I set the context by saying there is a helium balloon. Then I asked the question of students should be able to predict. Okay, then I showed the rest of the visualization. So we didn't do much part of the explanation at this moment, because this is just for your understanding. So here I could you know, give more explanation about this phenomena. Why did that happen with the helium balloon? What are the different physics principles or the properties that are working upon? So that can be facilitated in a different way. Okay. So to make the teaching learning more effective, always remember the triangle of effective learning. Okay. So triangle of effective learning consists of the teaching learning processes of learning objective, instructional activities, and assessment. Okay, so these are the three aspects of effective pedagogy, that is learning objective. So where we want to think about what we want students to be able to do, and this should be stated in a measurable form. So here we did that students should be able to predict the outcome. Then you need to have assessment that should determine the students have attained the learning objective, and then it should be aligned with the learning objectives. And then you also need to have an instructional strategy, instructional activity. So here you could see that to make it more effective, the learning objective was aligned with the instructional strategy of POE, right? So this also needs to be aligned with the assessment. Okay, so there are different ways to look at the assessment we can talk about in the upcoming part. So this is just a quick reflection slide for you. You can just take a look at it. This is a POE strategy. First, you need to set the context, then you need to set the context in predict phase, then comes the observe phase, and then comes the explain phase. Okay. So I'll be giving you an home assignment for designing your own POE strategy. That will be at the end of the session. So a few more examples upon how to use Mentimeter, where you could see this is simply multiple choice question. There is a chemistry example where about acid, base, and salts. So you need to find out what will happen after the reaction. I'm not going to ask you to participate in the activity. Rather, I'll just show you how I received the responses in the previous sessions. Okay, so here you can also display the correct answer. You can also you know, display the percentage of responses. Here, those who are asking about displaying the name, here I wanted to see how many of them have responded correctly, as well as those who responded correctly, who responded fastest, so that you can, select the winner or something like that. So here is a leaderboard you can see. So you can see this is a LS name where the person responded in 991.991 seconds, right? Something like that. So these are the points that were gained by the students. So you can simply explore more about the Mentimeter on your own. Okay, this is not much part of the Mentimeter, but you can explore more about the Mentimeter. Here I'll just give you a quick overview of how you can create slides. Here you could see when you log in into mentimeter.com, you can here you can see different presentations I have been creating, okay, for different purposes. And here you can create the slides. You can always create new presentation. Here you can see that this is a presentation mode. Here you can edit your slides. Now there are different ways or the functions to look up. So here in a type, you can see that what type of data you want to display. So here, what type of question you want to have. So these are the popular question types: multiple choice, word cloud, open-ended, scales, ranking, the one I just showed an example, question and answer. Okay, right. So there are more examples to look at. Then here you can enter your content. So because I have selected multiple choice, I have different choices. I can put a label over here. I can add different images or GIF images or static images over here to make it more engaging. Here you can select the result layout. We have a bar layout. Here you can have a donut layout, a pie chart, or a dots. So depending on your purpose, you can select your layout design. So most commonly we use bar layouts. So this is simple example that I have used. You can take a look at more examples and themes. You can explore on your own about this part. Okay. Now that, like I was telling you, I have used this activity to show you how to effectively integrate some assessment technique and teaching learning of some certain concepts for making the learning more engaging, right? I hope that has resolved the purpose. Now, what are the issues, assessment related issues that you need to worry about or teacher need to worry about? So these issues need to be worried or think upon by a teacher or someone who is curriculum designer or materials developer or tools developer or other people who are related to assessment. So like I said that what should we assess, right? So we should assess process or final product, that is right or wrong answer. Then we should assess student subject knowledge or how they can apply it, or we should assess is student creativity to be assessed or not. So how to start making these decisions? So basically, in order to make these decisions, or how do how to do this assessment well? So basically, in order to think about these aspects, we need to align this assessment with learning objectives, like I mentioned before. So we need to align this assessment with learning objective. So always remember the triangle of effective learning. So it is worth important to know to repeat that align assessment with learning objective, like I showed in the triangle of effective learning. Here you need to align this learning objective with this assessment. So always remember this. Okay, and this is the triangle of effective learning. So to come up with a few examples of that, I would like to talk about what are type of assessment formats, what are the various types, how to decide, or what does the decision depend upon. So definitely the type of assessment depends on the approach of teaching learning, correct? So I give you example of POE strategy. You may have different ways of teaching learning approaches, right? So and the major teaching learning types are what? They are like directed approaches or constructivist approaches. So depending on the approach of teaching learning, you can think upon the type of the assessment. So for the directed approach, you may need to have multiple choice questions, short answers, problem solving, typically those who are having unique answers. So here you can expect specific responses. The emphasis that is given to a product or final answer or essay, not on the intermediate steps. Where students, we think that students, all students must have the same skills so that you can assess accordingly. While in the constructivist teaching learning approach, this is not same as the directed approach, or it is not the conventional one. So for example, group projects, portfolio, or some multimedia products, or some software development. Okay, so these are the some examples of where you need to do the assessment. So here you can have multiple acceptable responses. You can have a variability in the products. The emphasis is on the process, not on the product. Okay, so student need to solve, or they must solve novel problem on their own, right? So you can try to encourage divergent thinking for that. So in order to, this is just a broad overview so that you can understand what are the different how it is dependent on the different teaching learning approaches. So what are the values that assessment must have? Okay, so these are the set of values that you need to think upon that assessment should have. So whatever assessment you are designing should be fair enough, and it should be valid enough, it should be reliable, and it should be conducted timely. It should also be incremental to check the progress. It should be demanding so that the learning uh, need to be progressive, right? Then it should be formative and summative, like we have seen few examples earlier. It should cover all the aspects or the areas. Then it should have different difficulty levels, and definitely it should be continuous. So these are again some values that assessment should have. So these you can relate to the initial question of the different purposes of assessment that I asked at the beginning of the session. Okay, so what are the other decisions to be taken? Okay, so so some certain decisions to be taken related to time. You can think of time constraint. Is it open ended, or is it having some time constraints? Yeah, please, Professor, please mute yourself. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so should group work to be assessed or only individual work to be assessed? How to assess the group interactions while you are assessing the group projects? Should different learning styles to be considered? How? Because when you're teaching in the class of 60, each students have different ways of learning. Some may learn through text, some may just learn through graphics, some may need more visualization. So how your assessment method ensures that each one is at the same level? Then there are some norm referenced or criteria reference assessments. Is it time specific or cumulative? Should some technology tools to be used? If yes, then how to use that? How to effectively use these tools? How to manage these records? And what to do when the number is large? These are different aspects or things to be decisions to be think upon while you are designing your assessment. So let us, I just want to revisit our question of what do we mean by assessment? Okay. So we have spoken much about the assessment. So what do we mean by assessment? So assessment, definitely to compile everybody's responses in the initial part, and to add upon is assessment should reveal how well students have learned what we want them to learn. So here I'm deliberately trying to emphasize on the fact that what we want them to learn, correct? So if we ask students what they want to learn, if they want to assess themselves, then things would turn to be different. But considering that, assessment should reveal how well students have learned that what we want them to learn. Okay. So like I said, we need to start with the learning objective, where we have to think about what is the learning objective. So here we define what we want them to learn. The students will be able to learn X, Y, Z after this session, after this semester, after this test, or after this year. There are different level of learning objectives. So here just to give you an overview of Bloom's revised taxonomy or hierarchy of different cognitive levels, you can think of these different levels. Are all these learning objectives at same level? So recall, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create. Are these at the same level? Or if I can use a different representation, so now can you see that? Are all these learning objectives at same cognitive level? So by looking at the representation also, you can say that no, they are not at same level, same cognitive level. Okay, now this is just to give you idea. Now I have a quick set of questions, back-to-back questions for you, where I want you to rank some assessment questions in terms of Bloom's taxonomy. So this is Bloom's taxonomy. So I'm assuming that all of you are must aware of the Bloom's taxonomy and must have designed a lot of assessment questions as well as learning objectives. So here to start with a question, okay? So you can use the chat box to respond. The question is, you need to rank the given assessment question in terms of Bloom's taxonomy from lower to higher levels. So these are the 4 questions. These are the assessment questions. Okay, so you need to rank. So here is the option of your ranking: A, B, C, D, either 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 1, 4, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, or none of this. Yeah, you can respond in the chat box once you are able to rank these questions. Okay, so I could see yeah, so most of the responses are saying B, that is 2, 1, 4, 3. So let me just check and verify if that is the correct answer. Okay, this is one response saying 1, 4, 2, 3. Okay. Now you must have all are different cognitive levels. Option A is correct. Now the question is, you need to rank. You need to identify the level. Professor Nathan, could you please switch off your mic? Can you mute yourself? Yeah, thanks. So yeah, considering your responses, let me check what is the correct order. So I said that from lower to higher levels. Okay. So the option B is the appropriate answer because, so let me reorganize these responses in this order. So here I could see, so 2 is state, 3 is design, 1 is calculate, 4 is find. Okay. So you can see now that each I have arranged this in this order. Okay. So what are these different cognitive levels as per the Bloom's revised taxonomy? So number 2 is like recall level. Here it will tell you just, you just need to recall the information. You don't need to apply much of the information. In order to calculate the current, you need to have some prior knowledge and then you need to apply that formula in order to solve this problem. Here, when you say find the impedance of a given complex circuit, so something is given to you and you need to do the analysis in order to find that, right? So that comes the next one. So design AC motor will definitely at a create level. Okay, it's a create level. Sorry for the typo. It's a create level. So accordingly, these are the orders. Now, just the next part is here you need to identify what is the cognitive level of assessment question. So I'll be giving few questions back to back and you may need to identify what is the level of assessment question. Okay, so here is the first question. The unit of resistance is RUA. The 6 options are given. So what is the cognitive level of questions? So based on Bloom's taxonomy, what is the level? Yeah, I could see that. So I don't want the correct answer. I want what is the cognitive level of the questions. Is it recall? Yeah, that is how I want your responses. Understand, recall. So definitely I'm not interested in the right answer or the wrong answer, but what is the level of question? Okay, somebody is saying apply level. Yeah, I could see some response saying understanding is invalid here. Great. Now you could see that everyone has different way to look at it, right? So this is a very good chance to verify your understanding. So let me check what is the cognitive level of this question. So I also think that this is a recall level. Let me check. Yes, the cognitive level of this question is recall. So why recall? Because recall will allow you to recognize or recall facts. You need to recall or you need to just remember previously learned material. There is not much thing you need to do, because while identifying the unit of resistance, you just need to remember from all these things. So yes, R is for resistance. How did you ordered apply level in the last question to be second in order? Could you care to explain? Just, yeah, I can just give you a brief explanation on that. So based on this given set of question, so in order to calculate, you need to apply the learnings that have happened. Okay. So if you can just simply okay, just a moment. Let me remove this from here. Okay. So if you just take a look at this hierarchy of, revised Bloom's taxonomy, you could see that these are the different levels, starting from recall, to understand, to apply, to analyze, to evaluate, to create, right? So these are the different cognitive levels. And based on that, so if you think of these questions, when we say that you need to calculate the current, so you need to know certain information about how to calculate the current. So you need to know some information of, some formula, some method or some procedure, and then you will apply that procedure in order to calculate this, solve this problem. So here you are applying your knowledge in order to solve a problem, right? That's how it comes at the second, right? Yeah. I hope that helps you. Okay. So similarly, okay, let me see. I was not aware of the real meaning of the question, as I was not aware of the electrical engineering concepts. No problem. Yeah, that's so that happens because when we do this, FTPs, where there are different set of questions. Each discipline has different way to look at the questions, and yeah, it's always there, so not an issue. But yeah, but the whole idea is, instead of knowing the formula, you can think of any mathematics question or a physics question where you know the formula, you have learned the equation, and then you need, in order to solve certain problems, you need to apply the process or the concepts of that problem, and then you will be able to solve the problem, something like that. Yeah, no issues. So here you can see that here you just simply need to recall the information, right? That's why it is there. So continue with this particular question where you need to identify what is the level of question. Here I have given another example. What is the level of this question? So just quickly you can think of. So here you can see the question is, use nodal analysis to find voltage at each circuit. So even if you're not from the electrical or electronics background, you can simply, try to focus on the keywords or the action verbs of the Bloom's taxonomy. So here what you can see that use something to find something, right? And some information is given in the form of circuit. Okay, so you're talking about K3, that is apply, analysis. Okay. Analyze, okay. Apply. So again, just if we carefully observe, so the student is expected to know about the nodal analysis so that he can use his information in order to find the voltage. So he will be applying the nodal analysis to find this particular thing, right? So this, yes, I think this is of apply level. So let me check. Yes, it is apply level. Okay, it's very straight away, very straightforward, not much confusing in this particular example. So like I said, here you will use the knowledge in a new situation. Okay, that may involve methods, laws, or some certain rules. Here it is some analysis that you will be using a knowledge in order to solve this problem, right? Okay, so let me see in the next question what you have to talk about. So here is again another question. The question is, describe the working principle of moving coil galvanometer. What is the cognitive level of this question? Okay, K2 means I think understand, right? Remember is recall. Okay, understand. Understand. So I think the question talks about describe the working principle. So in order to describe something, we must be, having the knowledge, or we must need to understand the working principle. Then only we will be able to describe. Okay, so I could see that mixed responses. Most of you are saying understand, and I also think that it is understand level. Let me also check that. See, why I am saying that, I also need to check, because these questions can be very tricky sometimes. Okay, it depends on how we have been using this action verbs. Okay, but these are the examples are very straightforward. So yeah, this is at understand level. Okay, so what understand level talks about is you can use it for explaining, interpreting, or grasp the meaning of it. You can translate the understanding. You can, paraphrase the memorized information. So in this example, you can describe means you are explaining something, or you are explaining in your own word, or you're trying to paraphrase some already known information. So this is at the understand level. Okay. So I have another question for you where you need to identify the cognitive level of the questions. So here you could see there are 4 diagrams. Okay. Already I flashed this answer, but this is the diagram. So here the 4 circuits have been shown. Okay. So
it's 12 o'clock.
What method has been used to control the current in these circuits? So these are the 4 circuits. So what do you think is the cognitive level of the question? Okay, you're saying apply. So that means you're saying analyze level. Analyze. Okay, so since I flashed the answer, I would like to reveal the answer, because yeah, it is analyze. Okay, because we have given 4 circuits, and we need to find out, what method has been used to control current in the circuit. So definitely I need to analyze all the circuits, and then I'll be able to figure out what is the correct answer. So here there are different ways to look at it. You can separate the whole into parts until the structure of whole and relationship between the parts is clear. So here we are talking about the relationship between the different structures and circuits, right? So yeah, definitely we need to do the analysis in order to where we are, having different circuits. So I'm just quickly going through different questions, so that can be as a part of verification as well as a practice of different assessment questions. So what is the cognitive level of this question? The question is, examine the different cases of hydrostatic forces acting on surfaces submerged in fluid. Now just tell me. Okay, you're saying apply, analyze. So you can also think of there could be different levels where the lower cognitive levels can, be subpart. So you may need to use all other levels in order to use the higher level. So maybe when you're saying analyze for doing analysis, you may need to do some apply, right? So you may need to do some recall, you may need to do some understanding. So if you're saying evaluate, definitely it may need to, it encapsulates the other one. So you're saying the question is not complete, a figure is required here. So again, it is analysis only. Okay, I'll give you some points you for that, but it depends. Again, it depends. Here you don't, even if it figure is not given here, so student must be knowing about the different cases of hydrostatic forces, right? So this information student may need to remember, recall, right? Or the student must be having understanding about the different cases of hydrostatic forces, and this is the condition is given. Okay. So depending on the teacher, how you want to design the question. So here I could say that the evaluate is the correct answer. Okay, because here we are trying to examine things. We are trying to examine different cases. So here the explanation would be judging value based on criteria or justifying the decision. Okay, so here you need to examine the different cases of hydrostatic forces. Right? So that is the evaluate level question. So I understand your this thing, but the confusion happens because sometimes you are not clear with the different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So the meaning that we interpret about these action verbs are quite different from what actually they meant. Okay. Okay. Correct. So the whole idea is not to give you the a very straight away question. So this kind of ambiguity should be there. But yeah, the question is very clear because see, when I say that examine the different cases of hydrostatic forces. So either now a subject expert can talk much about it, because when we say different cases, it is assumed that student may need to remember all the cases. What are the different factors about the cases? And this is the condition is also given, specific condition is given. Okay. And based on that we are asking to examine. So the evaluation will happen based on the each cases. Okay, yeah. Now this was, we were trying to figure out what is the cognitive level of the questions. Now I have few set of questions. Okay, by exactly I mean we don't. Okay, yeah, sure, no problem. So I'll try to, I would like to move upon the next part where, I would like to see the alignment between assessment with learning objectives. So let us see if these assessment questions are aligned with the learning objective. So here is the first question where you can see the learning objective is given and the assessment question is given. So this graph is part of the question. Okay. So you just have to respond with yes or no, and if possible, what are the levels? Okay. So are this is this assessment question aligned with this learning objective? Okay, so most of you are saying yes. One response is saying no at the same time. K2 level. So let me read this learning objective. Students should be able to draw BI graph for ohmic and non-ohmic resistance. The assessment question is which of the given characteristics of non-ohmic resistance. So definitely if I'm a student, if I know the graph of ohmic and non-ohmic resistors, I may be able to figure out based on the graphs, right? So if I have understanding of the graphs, definitely I'll be able to answer this question. So let me check. Yes, these are aligned. So aligned with which level? So see, remembering so here I would say here students just do not need to remember, but if he has understanding, he has clear understanding of which graph is of what resistor, then only he'll be able to answer it. Here, not necessarily they'll just have to remember. They'll have to remember certain information, but they need to understand the nature of the graphs, right? So here, this particular example is of understand level. Okay, correct? Yes, this assessment questions were aligned with LO, and it is of a understand level. So I have a second example for you. So we'll be having quick 3-4 or a few examples of same nature. Now the next example is the learning objective is students should be able to apply Ohm's law in simple series. And for this learning objective, this is the assessment question. So is it aligned? Yes or no? Some are saying no, some are saying yes. So just try to check everybody. Yes, no, mix answer. So I think it is very clear from the learning objective that what is intended, it is at apply level. Okay, the learning objective is at apply level. Okay, and the assessment question is at design level. Okay, so what I can think of is you're thinking the question is right, but both are not aligned actually. Yeah, both are not aligned. So you can just quickly think upon based on this level. So like I said, students should be able to apply Ohm's law, right? That is the learning objective. For this learning objective, this may not be the necessary assessment question for this learning objective. Here we are talking about designing a circuit. Okay, so this is at a create level, not apply level. The question might be right, but it is not aligned with the learning objective. Okay, so I hope you got the difference between your answers. Okay, yeah, let me go with Another question? Example 3. So here you can read the learning objective and tell me whether these are aligned. The learning objective is student should be able to calculate the resistance. Okay? You can think upon what is the level of this learning objective, and here asking to write a mathematical statement for Ohm's law. So someone is Professor Rathod saying that it is yes. Professor Nathan says no. Question is elementary. So yeah, this is, even I go with that, this is not aligned. Okay, this is not aligned because the learning objective thinks about, able to calculate. So this is more of a applying some pre-learned formulas or knowledge and then solve the problem. Okay, so in order to calculate, you need to have a prior information. And just to write a mathematical statement, you just need to maybe remember the formula. You don't need to much have, other higher level thinkings. So if I could see, yes, these are not aligned. Okay, and what is the level? Like I said, yes, this is the question is at recall level and the learning objective was at apply level. Okay, so these mistakes we should not, try to make, because the questions might be correct, but the levels I'm trying to say that are not matching. Okay, so it's always need to, align the learning objectives with your assessment question. Then only it will result in an effective learning. I thought in the last question, if the resistance is increased, the current decreases, and that makes the speed control possible to this cognitive level as apply level. So what I'm saying is the broader objective the student should be able to, this is apply level, and the question should be of that level also. This can be a part of the bigger question which asks to apply. Definitely you need to remember the Ohm's law. You need to recall the Ohm's law, but that is not the only objective that we are having as a learning objective. So that is why I said these are not aligned. Okay. So you can think upon at what level each of these statements can be contributing to your learning objective or the assessment question. Okay. So yeah, this was just a quick exercise for all of you to, broadly go about how to, align the assessment with learning objective. So you need to always remember the Blooming all the way. You need to remember this Bloom's taxonomy. I'm not at all saying that you need to start at which level. That depends on the topic and the instruction that you're having. Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks. I hope I was able to clarify your question. If there are any questions, I can try to discuss upon that. No problem. Okay. Let me see the chat is appearing. Yes, I'll be sharing my presentation slides, so you don't need to bother about it. If your notes you can take upon, because notes are something that is something that you found useful. Yeah, I'll be sharing the slides. Okay, so coming to, just please mute yourself. Someone is talking. Okay, so yeah, so this is always you need to remember the Bloom's taxonomy, because you may need to create a question bank for various topics. You can create it at the beginning and you can use it for framing assignments and exams, right? So you can think of going from recall level to create level. Okay, yeah. So these are the few examples. This is a Bloom's taxonomy. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm assuming that all of you are aware of it. right? And these are the some examples you can check upon when I share the slides. These are the different levels, and these are the some assessment questions. You can think of designing assessment question for your topic, right? This is for mathematics. This is for digital logic in engineering. This is for fluid mechanics in mechanical engineering. And these are the set of action verb that can be used for learning writing your learning objectives. These are the different levels, and these are the different action verbs. Right? So this was about writing assessment question. So then assessment of projects or designs or presentations or portfolios. What are the ways to do that? What is the goal of assessing projects and designs? So goals are, we want to evaluate the process, not only the product. Okay, it could be descriptive, it could be diagrammative. There is no single measure available or no single design. Okay, here the traditional assessment is not useful. You cannot use the just Bloom's taxonomy to assess these kind of things, not projects. Okay. So what is the solution? The one solution is rubrics. Okay, to evaluate the projects or to assess the projects, you can use rubrics. So rubrics is not covered in this session. It require entirely different session to do that. So now I will quickly go through a few examples, right? Moodle example, I will just have to quickly browse through given the time constraint, so that you can later on check upon. So here I am just trying to summarize the different forms of assessment, that is diagnostic, formative, and summative. So here you can see diagnostic can be, somebody please mute your mic, mute yourself. Someone is talking, could you please switch off? Is there option to mute all? I'm just muting all. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so mechanical engineering discipline examples like I was showing here. Yeah, so here you could see that a topic of fluid mechanics where you can, so basically, even if it is a context specific, you always need to think upon these levels. Do you just need to remember, or do you want student to recall the information? Then your action verbs will be according to that. Okay, so it all goes back to, just a moment. Yeah, I'll just, yeah, it all goes back to the action verbs. So it doesn't matter if it is mechanical engineering or electrical or electronics or computer science. You just need to think upon these action verbs. So when you have to phrase a question about recall level, you may start with list certain things, memorize, identify, quote, repeat, give an outline, write about something. So these are the some action verbs you can think upon. So for create level, you can think of combine, devise, expand, plan. So you can design a machine or come up with some, or create something like that, right? So you can think upon and come up with specific questions from mechanical engineering. Here you can see the examples and can be referred when I share the slides. Okay, right? Yeah. So yeah, just given the time, short time, remaining time. Yeah, the rubric is not covered in this part. However, I'll just talk about different ways to assess student online. I'll give you one example of Moodle. So this is different forms of assessment: diagnostic, formative, and summative. We talked broadly about it in the initial part, and diagnostic we normally do at the beginning of the unit. Formative we do it during the unit of study, and summative normally can be done at the end of the unit of study, right? Then the key purpose is to design instructions. The formative key purpose is to improve student learning. Summative is to provide credentials like grading. Okay. So here, what these things involve, we already discussed about it here. Just to summarize, so diagnosing students' prior knowledge, identifying their needs, prioritizing topics, right? Formative assessment is, like I already mentioned, it is continuously monitoring students' learning, then providing immediate opportunities for applying their knowledge and skills, then evaluating their performance to provide feedback. Summative is to evaluate against some mandatory standards or to grade them, okay, and to provide opportunity to show or demonstrate their achievement of skills and knowledges that they must have gained during the course of learning, right? And then you can always think of communicating student capabilities or competencies when you are doing summative assessment. Okay. So there are different examples I can just give you from Moodle. If you have used LMS or Moodle, you will be very well aware of these things. So while doing diagnostic assessment, like I was telling, it is used to diagnose students' prior knowledge. You can use quiz, and in a similar way, the way I use Mentimeter polling quiz, you can have different ways to use quiz. So here you can see the description of how quiz can be used as a diagnostic assessment. So you can refer this slides later on, and you can go upon taking the detailed description of how this will help, right? And then after this particular example, I want to mention that what are the emphases of each form of assessment. So diagnostic assessment does not emphasizes on grading or scoring students, whereas formative assessment also does not emphasize on grading or scoring students. However, summative assessment does not emphasizes on providing comprehensive feedback. So definitely this low emphasis of one assessment form is the purpose of the other assessment form. Okay, so that you can think upon. So possible teacher and if you have a teaching assistant's roles in each of the designing this form of assessment, so you can think of designing and execution most of the time. Summative is most of the time execution, right? This is just the informative part. So you can refer this table while you will next time think upon designing different forms of assessment. So moving on to another example of diagnostic assessment in Moodle. Here, if you want to identify students' need, so just focus on this highlighted part. If you want to identify students' need and expectations or motivation, you can have choice questions. Like you can ask a quick poll to stimulate thinking, then you can quickly test students' understanding, then you can facilitate student decision making, for example, allowing students to vote on a direction for the course. So you can think upon example where I asked you how many of you have used Mentimeter. So you can redesign that question in a different way. Okay, so what is your objective of joining this course or registering this course, right? So why did you join the mechanical engineering? So this is for a diagnostic purpose. Now giving example of formative assessment form in the Moodle, you can say that in the Moodle you will have different kind of activities. So quiz can be used, okay, where you can use this to deliver immediate feedback about performance. Okay, this is also can be used for self-assessment. So this immediate feedback thing is definitely something very interesting to look up to in online mode, where you have asked a question and you have multiple options or any kind of answer, and then whether student is correct or wrong, you need to give immediate constructive feedback. If it is right, what is the reasoning behind the right? If it is wrong, why it is wrong? And then what is the actual answer for that? So this is just a sample screenshot of Moodle. So to actually go through the entire Moodle process, you know that it takes a different set of instructions or detailed sessions to learn about how we can use it on Moodle. Okay. So here you can think about adding, workshop activity for formative assessment. What workshop activity does is it enables the collection, review, and peer assessment of students' work. So you can ask students to submit their submission in the form of, Word document or spreadsheets or the text, and that can be peer reviewed. Okay. And another example of question type that you can select is calculated, where calculated questions are like numerical questions. Okay, but with the numbers for from random sets. So this will also give immediate opportunities to apply knowledge and skills to the students by having these kind of questions. So yeah, this is a broader idea of you about how to some examples of doing assessment online using Moodle. Definitely in this short span, you must be having a lot of questions, but I cannot talk much about the Moodle at this moment, because the whole idea is to give you broader idea about different what is assessment and how you can do it. Okay. So here is again whatever I have just showed you is a summary of different assessment technique using Moodle. Whatever I have just showed you the examples. Okay, this is just a description. And finally, the summative form of assessment. If you are using Moodle, then you can use these features of assignment where students can submit their assignments, or you can create the quiz questionnaire, and you can provide grades and feedback to the students. You can they can also similarly submit their digital content such as Word files and other documents, depending on the kind of assessment question you have designed. Okay, so this is, we cannot talk much about all these factors. It requires entirely different session for that. So yeah, broadly talking about assessment, to just sum up at this point. So for deciding assessment activities, weighing purpose and constraint, these are the certain compiled list of things. So normally the purpose that we have talked about is whether it is diagnostic, formative, or summative, that you can think upon. And then there are different constraints that we have discussed, like what is the nature of content to be assessed. You also need to align with the instructional goal or learning objective. Then you have constraint like large number of students, and time and efforts required, skills required to design activities and providing feedback, right? Then what are the stakes? Are there high stakes or low stakes? Okay. So what are the scope of malpractices by the students that you need to think upon? And also the technological affordances or possibilities. Since we have moved to online, there are different challenges you must have been facing. Okay. Okay, so this is all about the assessment. I have a can we just promote a apply level question with another part in question to be called as analysis? Will that not be both apply? Yes, definitely. Like I said, the higher order questions will definitely have encapsulation of the lower order questions. Definitely, yes. So I have a last quick activity for you. Just let me see if people can respond. This is not the part. Okay, so just I'm taking a few more minutes. So I want to know if
it's 12:30.
So I want you to write brief answers about the following questions. What is the most valuable or helpful idea or concept that you have learned in session? Or what is the confusing point that you must have come across? So quickly go to this Padlet. Okay, just click on this link. So it will take you to the Padlet. And if you have used Padlet, you know how to respond or post. You click on the plus sign or double click on the desktop, or double tap if you're using phone, and just respond if with your name or without your name, doesn't matter. What is the most helpful idea that you learned? This is the question for your reference. So this will be the concluding activity. So once I receive few responses, I can conclude this session. So yeah, now those who are responding also can see everybody else's responses on the Padlet, right? And the whole idea is I'm asking you to talk about just one idea that helped you, or you know. Okay, so the idea is if multiple people respond with one valuable concept that they learned in the session, just imagine if 20 people are responding with 20 different ideas. Now this particular activity will enable all of them to understand and focus at one point that okay, now the session is gonna get over and this is okay, this is what the other person is thinking important. So somebody has learned mapping a question to revise Bloom's taxonomy, no confusion. Then okay, nice presentation, nice neat presentation, learned a lot session. So this is I was not expecting the feedback, but new ideas learned. Menti.com is nice and he would like to implement Bloom's taxonomy. So just think about those people who are not paying attention till now continuously. If they just pay attention to the last part of this, and they will learn that okay, that there is something called Mentimeter that was important. There is something called Bloom's taxonomy that happened. There is something called alignment of learning objective and assessment question that happened. So now you know what is the most important part of the session that they have missed or something like that. Okay. So this particular activity which you are actually participating in is called a minute paper activity. This is a classroom assessment technique. Normally, when at the end of each class, when we ask students, so have you learned that what is the most important idea that you learned in the class? Then students respond to that particular part. So there are a lot of research also says that using minute paper activity is very helpful and has very strong benefits. Okay, so somebody is saying that Professor Dutt is saying Bloom's taxonomy is confusing, need deeper understanding. Great. So this now tells me also as an instructor a quick feedback that okay, need to refine my instructions, or maybe I can ask at the beginning of the session that do everybody understand the Bloom's taxonomy? What are their understanding? I can do the diagnostic assessment for that. So right, or I can design some activity for that. So yeah, so this is again broadly, it is helpful for each and everyone, not only the teacher, but for the participants also. Yeah, so I think we need to stop here, and thank you very much for your contribution and being patient and attending the session. If there are any questions, you can simply write to me if I can respond it to any time, not an issue. Yeah, so this is. Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, the assessment thing is very vast, and I just want I would have kept on going, but yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Department of Mechanical Engineering, VELAMMAL, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to our chief guest, Dr. Kapil Kadam, who spared time from his busiest schedule to grace the occasion. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this will surely be going to encourage students in their future events, sir. Your thoughts have enlightened our minds and have shown us a new path. My gratitude to the speaker for gracing the occasion and sharing their opinions today. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.